There's already people in the chat waiting for their own technical issues.
Just let me know when I need to start talking.
And we should be live.
Awesome. Yes, we are.
All right.
Indeed.
You can hear me okay?
Yep.
I believe you can. I'll make one slight adjustment to your camera position. This should be good. Terry apparently has confirmed that we are live on the correct link, on the correct stream. Chatter should be able to hear us and see us regularly right now. And I believe we should have, at best, a very tiny delay in comparison to live chatting. But I believe we're good.
Awesome.
Correct, around 15 seconds delay.
Cool. All right.
Very good. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to a great opportunity for our Odyssey of the Dragonlords community. We have a live interview with James Ohlen himself. My name is Pedro, but most of you know me in Discord through the nickname of Nethari or Neth. I'm here with Terry.
I'm Terry, another one of the mods from the Discord. Most of you will know me by as Pterodactyl.
Well, and we are very, very, very happy to welcome James Ohlen into our community, even if just for a short while. Please, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm James Ohlen, and was one of the co-creators of Odyssey of the Dragonlords along with Jesse Sky back in the day, and Arcanum Worlds. I get Archetype and Arcanum mixed up sometimes, but Arcanum Worlds. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. It's been a part of my life, since I was young. I still run multiple campaigns to this very day, and I enjoy, making adventures. It's actually kind of I use it to relax, which can drive my wife insane when we're on vacation at some beach and I'm like writing on my laptop. I'm like, I'm so inspired.
You gotta understand, there's no time for a hobby. This isn't work, this is love, right? That's how it goes. And with that, we'll take our very precious minutes and begin with a very simple question. Especially going beyond the 2024 rules, what has inspired you to create this remastered edition? And this question comes from Ian, one of our VIPs.
Well, there was a few reasons. As you mentioned, the new rule set. There's also something that I'm sure most would agree with, which was that everything post Battle of Mitros was pretty rushed. So, I wanted to go back and do a lot of work on that. And then after working on the Exodus tabletop books and Chains of Asmodeus, I was like, wow, so much art. Odyssey needs more art. So it's like you have far more beautiful art. I've met some new artists while working on Exodus, so it was just a chance to make the book even more beautiful and get John Stevenson to do some more maps and add 200 pages worth of content just to the Odyssey of the Dragonlords. That doesn't even include the Reavers, the Reavers book. But and then just clean up a few things. Monster stats was one, obviously, and plus anyways, I think I also and then I wanted to get back to I want to be releasing new books for Arcanum Worlds, and I thought I should read. People might have forgotten about Odyssey by now, but I guess not, because I should relaunch Odyssey, and then that can kind of get the line going, and then the new books. The next Kickstarter will be next year. Where you hear it first, folks, but that's where you learn where the Dragon Lords originally came from. So it's a whole new adventure setting. But anyways, but that has nothing to do with this. I shouldn't say. I was talking about Exodus. The marketing people will be shaking their heads. Anyways, does that answer the question? Do you think?
Very
Yeah.
much so. And that alone makes me so curious about so much stuff. But I'll also hold my reins in. The talk about Exodus was already one of the things that you were told to be like, let's take it carefully. Let's be very careful with that kind of stuff. And Odyssey of the Dragonlance was very much not forgotten. We have what I believe to be one of the largest TTRPG communities, especially around third-party products. We've definitely made a product that has resonated with a lot of people and can very much be easily perceived as a product of love that it is. But to go ahead, with this large and spanning career that you have built for yourself, especially with video games before coming back to TTRPGs, there are echoes of your previous works visible throughout Odyssey of the Dragonlords, both large, like the presence of numerous companion NPCs, and small, such as giving another queen the name Honora. How have these experiences with video games enriched your TTRPG designs, and how have they gotten in the way?
Um, well, I think the thing about working on video games is you have to think of all the edge cases and all of the you know different how the players' choices can exactly impact the world and such because the engineers have to know what to do. But with a book, um, and so that's helped make sure to keep enough details for dungeon master that they're able to do a good job dungeon mastering. Though it has kind of I've had to step back because sometimes I am writing too much like a game designer, a video game designer, instead of like because um you need to have the fiction mixed in with the rules texts in a way that makes it interesting. Because as a dungeon master, you want to be able to crack open that book and enjoy reading it. You don't want it to be just dry and boring. So it has to be useful, but also interesting, and that's kind of the. So I guess the video game part has helped me with the useful. Um, and when I am, working on tabletop, I have to kind of take remember that I had to focus on the fiction as well.
Very much so. That point on the books being enjoyable to read is a huge deal for me personally.
Yeah.
I have had trouble in the beginning of my quote unquote DMing career with books that were essentially a pile of rules on top of each other, right? But meanwhile, there were very engaging books like the World of Darkness books that we used to weave personal narratives together with their exposition. I felt that was one of the most incredible things that the media could offer to me, and it was one of the things that made learning games so much easier and falling in love with them so much easier, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. That's one of the reasons I love tabletop books so much. Uh, oh, but that's also why art, because art's the other half, and it's like um, Odyssey will have more art per square inch. I don't know. Well, than ever before. So it's like I'll be like, I gotta. My wife will murder is like gonna murder me half the time because I'm like, well, this page is empty. I need to commission another art piece. She's like, we've already spent this much. I'm like, well, but we need it.
Everybody likes art.
Yeah,
Deeply so.
I have I work with so many really talented artists that are they're just amazing. I love working with them.
Excellent. This question was inspired by Crossfire from our Discord. There are loose ends in Dragonlord. Some NPCs have names but no part to play. Some locations are bare bones, and sometimes even sensitive material doesn't offer an explicit goal or conclusion. At the same time, these can be the most accessible canvases for dungeon masters seeking to write their own content into the adventure. In your opinion, how much of an adventure should be explicitly written in the module, and how much should be left to each DM's imagination?
I think you have to um, create the uh, typical run. Like if the typical party would do this, and I'm going to make sure that I describe that path, but then add on a whole bunch of extra that allows the dungeon master to have information for when the players go off in some crazy direction, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're going here. What's here? Whoa, well, look, there's a little write up for it." That's why like, there's a lot of reasons why Curse of Strahd is the gold standard. It still is the gold standard. It's well, A, because it's had decades of playtesting, but B, oh, and then there's the fact that it takes the greatest and the easiest IP to role play in ever, Halloween. It's basically the Halloween IP.
Yeah.
But finally, it's in the fifth edition Curse of Strahd. It's like it's so, because it's just in the valley of Barovia. Um, it details absolutely everything, like all the buildings and all the rooms in the building, not in in the few towns, but even the towns are very detailed. And so it as a dungeon master, it's the most fun to run, because you don't really have to do a lot of reading up. You can just like jump right in, and it's ready to go. And that's kind of the philosophy we're taking with Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, is just trying to make it even more so like that.
Yep. That's good. I like that.
Very interesting. And indeed, no wonder, because Strahd is probably still the most popular 5e module, right? We were talking about how indeed big and great our community is, but it pales in comparison to that of Curse of Strahd for a bunch of
Oh,
different
yes.
reasons. That's absolutely the quote-unquote gold standards. But on that note, Odyssey of the Dragon Lords has a lot of peculiarities to it. It is a very quote-unquote individual, personal module. And one of the things that I think it does very well is that it offers an engrossing preface about its mythological inspirations, emphasizing how different an ancient hero can be from the quote-unquote superpowered, self-sacrificing paragons we've come to idolize. And yet, between highly principled NPCs like Hera and the brutal histories of the Dragon Lords, it sometimes feels like the campaign nudges players into playing modern heroes instead of mythical ones. Do you agree with that perspective? Do you think there's a bit of that contradiction in the module?
Yeah, probably, because it probably was that's that's the Dragon Lords part of Odyssey, the Dragon Lords sneaking in there. It's so it is the themes sometimes don't come through as much. That's mostly my fault, because Jesse's like the um uh, he's the guy who understands themes very well. Don't worry, he's given his blessing on this one. He's just super ultra busy on Exodus right now. Anyways, uh, yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. I think, for example, doing with Reavers is a lot different, because it's trying to embrace the kind of, you're a raider and you're raiding and you're getting loot and you're, so that it's I think the themes come through better in that one, so there's some lessons learned there. But yeah, no, I don't um disagree with that, because we're trying to balance the
Yeah.
D&D aspect with the Greek aspect.
And it can be a tough line to manage, but this is a very personal question to me because I love mythology. And when I found Odyssey and fell in love with it, the parts that I liked most were the parts that most resonated with mythology. And so I like to include a follow-up question, which is, if that perspective, that contradiction seems to be in the module, is there any interest, or are there any plans to foster the mythical hero further in the remaster, or is that part going to be kept as is, probably?
Now, there's a few. I think everyone has identified that the same system sucked. So, like, making something that's actually useful, I think will help with that. And then there's certain events and characters that can be given a little more detail. Um, but and then lots more art. Just kidding. That's anyways.
Awesome. This question is inspired by Shin Ramen, one of our VIPs. The new map for the Heartlands looks wonderful, and the amount of new named locations is astounding, especially for someone like me who enjoys a good side quest. But will these expansions be helpful for Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, or are you mostly looking to expand Thylia as a setting? independently of this main campaign?
Well, so some of the new locations on the map will be adventure locations, fully detailed. You'll have your read aloud text. And then there'll be others that are just uh, adding to the world, giving you more details about parts of the world that you may have heard of or you may not have heard of, but just essentially filling it out because the Heartlands felt that was like a place that really could feel a little more real and lived in. And then that was like the first. Well, there's two major maps I definitely wanted John to do, and that was one of them because the original Heartlands map is really just a zoomed in Thylia part of the Thylia map, and it's not that great. So
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Quite interesting. This one is inspired by Kaleton, and he's both one of our VIPs and one very active member of our community, actually. The module's custom races are very flavorful, and the teased editions seem to be following suit. In actual play, however, many folks feel as if native species are poor fit for the narrative. Epic paths might be individual and agnostic, but the expectations of rebuilding the Dragonlord Order, supporting the Five Gods, and saving Mitros makes the campaign feel focused on settlers. Are there any concrete plans to better incorporate native species into the campaign?
That's a very I would say that there's going to be a lot of editing going on even after the end of the Kickstarter, and that's a good. I'm taking notes. But that's a very good one because it is true that the settler races play a lot better. Uh, um, so I don't think we're gonna change. It might be that we just need some call outs where, like, 'cause we had a few call outs for that in the original book, but not many. So more call outs probably needed.
Sure. For what it's worth, for a little bit of sneaky constructive criticism, I think there are a lot of ways to do it. Some callouts would be great. Maybe an epic path dedicated to a kind of native player character would be an awesome addition. I'm pretty sure people would love it. Some more explicit ties between native communities around Thylia, especially with this larger, deeper map, and these relationships between them and settler civilization. I think there are great avenues you could pursue, and we're very curious to see how it develops for sure.
Yep. No, that's Oh, you guys are gonna make it 300 extra pages by the time. Anyways.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that like giving feedback.
That's why I had to be split into two books and all those extra pages, but it is probably going to be, well, it depends on how many stretch goals are hit and all the rest. But even beyond that, it's not like we're going to stop making changes as we think of or get feedback on things until it finally we have to give the PDF print files away. Then we'll have to stop. Until the 2035 remaster. No, I'm kidding. Anyways.
Gotta see the Dragonlords forever.
Yeah. I know quite a few people that would like that. This question is inspired by Kaleton, one of our VIPs and Discord member. Oh no, sorry. I was reading the wrong bit. This one was inspired by August, Crash Gem, Earthcube, Kaleton, and others from our Discord. So Dragonlords engages with sensitive themes like sexual violence, infanticide, and more, but it can struggle to do so. The module doesn't mirror ancient Greek culture, nor does it submit to modern sensibilities, and so our community has seen debate about racial basis of Mitros' slavery, the lack of positive female lesbian sexuality in spite of Themis' existence, and more. What were your goals when including heavier themes with the adventure?
Well, you're right that we couldn't go too hardcore into the Greek themes in some areas because it would just probably be too off-putting for a lot of people. So it was kind of I don't know, it really just depended upon the story and some stories were going to be a little lighter, and other stories were going to be a little heavier. Like the Mossy Temple story is actually a pretty heavy story when you think about it.
Yeah.
But then there, um, is that like probably the closest to the to some of the hardcore stuff from Greek mythology.
Yeah, I would say
Um,
Mossy Temple and the Themis storyline is they're quite uh they're deeper than some of the
yeah,
other issues.
yeah, and the as to representation, we definitely wanted to make that's something I mean just discussed at the beginning, which was how do we allow for players to be whoever they want to be, and if we're going to have races, then the color of your skin shouldn't matter, and so we just had to, it's like, so it was kind of we just wanted to make sure that all the different kinds of looks that someone wants to be and like that they could create the character they wanted to and it fit within the Thylian setting. That's why the Settlers um, is a big reason why we wanted to have the Settlers be more recent so that it would explain it. So it's not just now there is the other way to do it is just to do hand waving because but I think having some like immersion is important, and for some people they wouldn't care, other people they would. So yeah, we just made sure to make it make sense.
And to follow up on that, will the remastered edition seek to improve on these ideas in any way?
Um, I think there's a few places that we could focus. I don't want to blunt the edges though, so it's like it's more add rather than subtract. Um, but like going to the Mossy Temple is still going to be as depraved
Yep.
as always. But like anyways, so it's yeah, yes. I guess the answer is yes.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Moving on from more narrative choices to some mechanical ones. The new subclass options that were put to a vote sounded quite creative and fun. And the first question I've got, why was there no cleric?
Because we can only do questionnaires of 10, like 10 options. So it's like, so two, I think there was I can't remember. I think it was the two lamest. So I guess right now the cleric.
Yep, yep.
Like, yeah,
That's fair.
yeah.
Cleric is my
I was
boy. That's
surprised by the
terrible.
warlock. Um, Everyone seemed to like the warlock idea. I thought the fighter and the druid were the ones that I was like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna like, and they came in number 2 and 3. So I still got it,
Yeah.
but I totally was surprised by the warlock.
The warlock, the ranger, and the druid were my choices, and
Yeah,
I showed it to some of my players in my group, and they jumped straight on to the ranger just for more story options.
well you can thank my wife for that because she kept on badgering me. I was like, classes are so hard. We have 12, one for each class. We have why we don't need more. Like it's but it was the same thing. Jesse was the one who was badgering me with the first Odyssey. So because they are hard. So
Yeah,
it's like,
that's fair.
and yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Now that most votes have been cast for the subclasses, would you mind telling us what your favorite was?
Hmm. Oh, probably either the druid or the ranger. Strangely enough, yeah. I knew the fighter was gonna. I was like, we got to have a dragon lord fighter. Um, it seems like no one likes the Achilles paladin though, because that's basically the paladin was like, and you're Achilles. And I was like, nah. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way to make yeah, go back to the well on that one. Not throw away Achilles since he's such a bit, but
No.
like figure out how to. There's other cool elements to him that it was only like it's what was it? Was each a sentence or two sentences? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
there wasn't much to make your decisions based on.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like here's the because that's the best way to you start off with this very high level vision of like, do you want to play that? Can someone describe it to you really fast? And you want to play? That's kind of the um, the goal, both in video games and in tabletop for that kind of stuff. Anyways,
Sure. I'm still mourning the lack of cleric. Cleric and paladin are my two favorite classes personally, and with that short description, I'll admit the paladin didn't resonate with me as much. But I always wondered what could a cleric more tied to Greco-Roman civilization as a representation of the five gods, for example, could be. I think there's so much ground there, but I understand that the form was limited. That's part of life. It's pretty sad. But to move forward a little bit, this one was inspired by Dan and Lawrence. They're both VIPs. Despite dragons being in the title, incorporating them is a big challenge. They significantly boost player power, fill up initiative, and require a significant amount of in-game time to grow beyond the Wormling stage. So, our first question in this regard is, were dragons always meant to be accessible rewards for every player character, given how many eggs there are present in the game, and how the bond spell can be cast on others, or were they mostly intended for specific Dragon Lord-related epic paths?
yeah, we wanted to give any player the it was gonna like any player the option of doing it. Give the game master, the dungeon master, the tools. If the entire party wants to be have their own dragons, and then but then make sure that if your subclass revolves around it, you get an advantage. But or if your background revolves around it, and then there's people for some reason who don't want to ride dragons. I don't know. Those people are weird to me. No, I was kidding, but there are. I've had multiple players in my campaigns who for some reason didn't want to. It just wasn't their thing. So does that answer the question?
Absolutely does. And in my original group, 4 of the 5 people had no interest in the dragons. They were much more interested in other aspects of the Greco-Roman world. I was also surprised. I'll always be surprised about it, for sure. And there's a bunch of these questions about dragons, but I think the one that comes up the most is something around of, will the remastered edition include an explicit means of aging your dragons in order to ride them in the Battle of Mitros? Or do you feel fighting with the 5 gods at that point is key to the story? And, just in addition, there's technically already one, there are potions of aging, but there's a certain negative connotation to that kind of method.
Yeah, I think one of the so for the Battle of Mitros, probably not, but for the high level event, the apocalypsis, that's right now it starts. You as a dungeon master, you can choose how many years have passed, but now we're suggesting like 10 to 15 years have passed, so that you can also there's some tables that allow you to, and you can just create your own. But like if
Yes,
how many did you get married? How many children did you have? When what did those so then and your dragon would obviously naturally age over that time, and you get actually they don't have the. It takes a while to get to adult. Plus, adult is so powerful, but getting to young adult obviously is important.
Yeah.
So I think that will help with that, and plus it kind of makes. I was like, for people returning, they might want to just play the apocalypse's part because they never did when they originally ran through it, and so if it takes place, a decade or 15 years later, it kind of fits. I haven't played this character in a long time, and now I have kids, and blah 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 blah, and there's been also a lot of content added, so that section.
A good reason to go and revisit it.
Yeah, we have a number of enthusiasts of the post game. We call it the post game in the Discord server. Lots of constructive criticism, lots of varying ideas, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very eager to know about these details, for sure.
Yeah, one of the hardest things was for the post battle for Mitros is just creating a flow chart for the city of Aresia so that you can actually run it without losing your mind. But because it was so yes, it's got a whole page, a flow chart. Okay, it's right now just a Word document flow chart, but Mikhail will turn it into something beautiful. But it's just basically something that so there's things like that to make it run better, and then more details. Obviously, Sunken City needed a lot more details, or the Tomb of Carpathos, or obviously the very end needed a crap ton of detail, and then there's the gods themselves. I tried to convince. So we have like more details on the sunken city gods, but I was talking to Adrian Tchaikovsky about something completely different. I was like, "Hey, I know you're really busy, but do you want to like write up some like super Viking villains and Greek stuff?" But he's still super busy. I wasn't able to convince him. I was like, because then I could use his name and marketing. I was like telling my wife it's Adrian, like, but I failed. I tried, but I failed. So probably for the better.
Can't win all of them.
No, it's not really. But anyways, but I have worked with. He's an enormous Dungeons and Dragons nerd, and so I've got him to work on 3 separate projects. One of which you guys don't have never heard of. Aha! But will at some point in the future. If you're wondering what the other 2, it's Exodus and then Chains of Asmodeus.
Something for us else to look forward to in the future.
Yeah.
You've already spoken about the difficulties of converting Dragonlords to another TTRPG system, but what about bringing it to other virtual tabletops? Can a poor DM dream of a Foundry VTT module or Alchemy or any of the others that are big names now?
I think for the Kickstarter we're sticking to Roll20, but it really depends upon how successful the Kickstarter is, and it's at the end of the day, it's I'd be fine with doing all of them, but it's a lot of work, and I'd have to find the right people, which Alfred, the Roll20 guy, has some connections and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that we would like to do if it makes sense, but even the people who would want to do the conversion, it has to make sense for them. So if like Odyssey does good numbers, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, totally, I'll do that." Whichever. Like I'm not too familiar, except for the big. Well, in my mind, maybe they're no longer the big 2. I'm assuming Roll20 is still the biggest. I hope so, since it's the.
It's definitely up there still.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, very much does. I'm still deeply hopeful. Deeply hopeful. But, moving on. This one was inspired by August from Discord. The module sometimes struggles with consistency and continuity, with the most recent example likely being a remastered edition preview, which keeps a description from the original book about the corrupted boar that plagued the lands west of Mitros, despite it earlier being placed to the east of Astoria. Are there any concrete plans to tighten information across the text and avoid these kinds of mistakes in the remaster?
Yes, we're doing like I've had several people run through it that I like. Brent Knowles, who's the author of Raiders and who was ex-Bioware lead designer. He's gone through and given feedback, as has Mikkel and Mary DK. He was an editor. That's his wife, and we're going to have many months of going through it over and over again. We have a lot more time to just polish, and plus we have tons of resources to look at in terms of, all right, what is we'll probably continue to do surveys just over the course of after the Kickstarter, just to continue to see, find places to fix. So basically, we'll be fixing stuff until I have to send the print files.
Until you hit print, basically.
Yeah. Though I have to be careful, or Mikhail will murder me, or my wife will murder me, because Mikhail will charge me a lot of money, because he'll be like, "You just added a half page there, and that's good. So it's like so sometimes I'll be like, how do where I gotta keep the word count the same so it doesn't mess up, or it'll be like, fuck it, no way I can do anything here. It's gonna be, some new graphic design.
Yeah, and these nitty gritty details, they can be simply hard to deal with, right? Anyone who has read your own text 10 times looking for typos and still missed a couple of them can state the stress that comes along with it. Some of them are more forgivable and natural, especially as the book grows, like a couple of typos, something like that. But there is more relevant information with some other examples that we would really love to see changed. Off the top of my head, I always am reminded of the time to hatch a dragon egg, for example. The bond spell establishes one specific a period, I think around 1d4 days, if I remember correctly, while the Dragon Lord Appendix, for example, mentions around 2d6 or goes over weeks specifically. And for a while I thought, oh, maybe it's because of the bond spell, but actually that's just flavor text before the spell is cast, so it couldn't be that. So that's the kind of actually more precious and useful information that we would definitely love to see changed, for sure.
Yeah, no. What's the best resource? Because um, I got Brent gave me a big summary, and like from Discord itself, and then but is there a summary of all the mistakes like that anywhere that I could just
I don't think there's any document that goes over that extent. What we
No.
have is a bunch of different
Okay.
people chiming in together. But if that's
Yeah.
something to that degree of interest, I'm sure a couple of people who might be listening to this live stream might see this as a sort of small calling. I know I remember at least a couple of them off the top of my head, and we might be able to try and help some way. I think that could be
Yeah.
achievable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I
Yeah,
don't anything that's um what uh um is actually east of Astoria.
The corrupted boar, right in chapter 1. It's already in one of
Yeah.
the previews. There's a text at the beginning of the Temple of the Oracle section describes the boar as plaguing like the west of Mitros, something like that.
Yeah.
But originally it's in the Heartlands, right? It's to the east of Astoria as described in chapter 1.
Yeah, no, that's good catch. But yes, it is still that way. That's an easy fix. It doesn't even require just a text.
And before the map could be more hand waved, but now it has a scale, so now we can know the distance and we can know it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually because that was one of the asks that you guys gave, which was having scales on all the maps. So John and Mikhail worked on that, and yeah, now even the island maps and everything have scales. And
Yeah,
so,
I think the scale change is one of the best ones because it's easy,
Yeah.
simple, and quick, but its impact is very significant, right? It grounds travel time, it grounds the journey. I think it's one of the best contributions the initial FAQ gave, for sure. But anyway,
Okay, this question was inspired by Kieran, a VIP, and Glauco from Discord. Was there anything that was originally abandoned in the cutting room floor, but you are now excited to bring into the remastered edition?
oh yeah, tons of stuff is just things that are on the cutting room floor, especially for the post battle of Mitros.
I respect it.
But even even in the Forgotten Sea and less so the Australian Gulf, there's things that we didn't have time or energy to develop enough to include, or just we did include, but it wasn't developed enough. So it's like now we can go back and give it that extra polish it needs. Actually, pretty well. When you look at Odyssey Dragon Lords, it gets less polished as you go along. It's like the Cerulean Gulf is more polished than the Forgotten Sea, and the Forgotten Sea is more polished than everything post Battle for Mitros. That's for sure. But and then of course there's the Mount Olympus. Well, the very end, which is the least polished thing. Yeah, that's pretty unpolished. But don't worry, it's now got it. That's the other big John Stevenson map he had to do, because he did the cross section, then he had to do the adventure map, and he did a great job. It's gonna be awesome.
Again, incredibly curious. But would it be too
Yeah.
spoilery for me to ask about an example, for example, for the Forgotten Sea, of something that was cut and now it's coming back?
Let's see. Oh, the island of, well, it's more stuff within one of the, so it's the island of Helios is
Oh,
very sparse, and like
yes.
the whole main island is got nothing. As like it was very uh undeveloped, considering you have the cyclopses that live there hurting the elephants, and they would get, like, there's all these, and they're training for the coming war. So it's that's a place that definitely got expanded significantly. Actually, the one philosophy um, that we've used for the remaster with all the islands is it can't there can't be islands that are one location places, especially if they have a map. Because why have the map if you only go to one place? And a lot of them were just like one location, and so now all the maps have um, non-critical like just extra stuff. So if your players are like, oh, I want to go over here, you're like, wow, there's actually something here this time. It's not just a beach of nothing, but I'm sure, or you just invent your own stuff. But yeah, so the islands are all expanded in that regard. Um, Except maybe the island of the exiles, the worst murder mystery plot, where it's like, and if you that, like, so that one's still, it's a tiny island, but at least the murder mystery is like, there's you get to do more stuff than it was. Yeah. not the
Also,
greatest not the greatest murder. There's, you can research, there's entire articles online written about writing murder mysteries, and yeah, they're difficult because
yeah, yeah, very difficult.
you have the rule of, like, players will miss everything, but so you have to have enough clues. Then you have to have the hard clues to make them feel smart. But they don't have to find those. It'll just make them. It'll take long. Yeah, freaking, they're probably the hardest kind of quest to do right. As a done, like, if you're just making it up on the fly and you can just change everything, and your experience, like, then whatever. But, like, writing, so that a dungeon master can run a murder mystery properly is, yeah,
Yeah, murder mysteries
hard.
are the definition of the devil's in the details, right? You
Yeah.
gotta be really careful with it. But just to check, are we going to be punctual? I assume you have a very tight schedule, so are we on our last 5 minutes? Or do we have more
Oh,
leeway?
yeah. Sorry, yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, 5 minutes. Don't worry. So,
I have to
last.
go pick up my daughter from. Well, anyways,
Now, don't worry about it. Last couple of questions. First, Odyssey of the Dragonlords came out in 2019. Since then, Arcanum Worlds has survived a worldwide pandemic, and you have both returned to working. You have both returned to working with video games and released new books like the recent Chain of Asmodeus. What is the biggest lesson you've learned these last few years that is helping you develop this remastered edition?
oh, did I suck back then? Because I've just been like, so many mistakes where it's still, yeah, just I've been dungeon mastering the entire time, and learning so much about fifth edition, um and having written, well, the thing about the books that I did for Wizards is they were kind of uh not they didn't get the same amount of rigor, um and so I don't know if I learned what I guess I could say I learned what not to do, which, with Chains of Asmodeus, was don't try to make a source book and an adventure, because then, well, the source book I think I worked fine, but the adventure sucked. But that's um, I'm trying to rectify that. That might be another announcement. So I kind of did it on Twitter, like, I'm working on something called the Stygian Passage, which is John Stevenson did maps for every single location, dungeon maps, and now yeah, whatever. That's a totally different product. But point being is, it's actually now just an adventure, and because Chains of Asmodeus was not. I wanted to make something that was closer to the level of love and detail we put in with Odyssey.
I did check the preview on Twitter at least, and it did look engaging. So I wish you the best of
Yeah,
luck. I hope it can
it's
be
in my
everything you want
collection.
to be.
Yeah, and it's that'll be the Stygian still has a long ways to go. Plus, it's while it's an SRD book, it's complicated. It's not like Odyssey, which is just owned by me and Jesse.
More complicated.
Awesome. And the last question we've got for today, which was suggested by Josh, one of the other moderators of the Discord. Was there anything you hoped to talk about today but didn't fit any of our questions?
Just that I do think that, well, 200 extra pages, new maps, and all kinds of beautiful art, and solving a lot of the problems. Also, it's not Modiphius this time, though. Don't worry, we're still working with Modiphius and other because we have a good relationship with them. But we're using Waypoint, the people who did the Exodus books, and so the quality of binding and everything is is very okay. When you look at the Exodus, it's like that. What do you call the super high quality binding when you can see on like the I don't even know what it's called, but it's very
I
it'll
can't
have
say I
that
know what it's
same.
called either.
Yeah, it's got the highest quality binding and all the rest, and all the extra content. There's the entirely new adventure, which um, Reavers is a chance for you to enjoy Odyssey in a different way, since um, you basically play through Reavers and you get the doodad at the end that allows you to travel to another world, and you arrive at at Thylia just in time for the Ultros. You're the you kind of fast forward and say you're the the here's the prophecy, and anyways, it's a you can it feels different because you have different kinds of characters that are more foreigners, and but it actually fits because you're like we're bloodthirsty raiders and we like to go on ships and like it's like, well, guess what, we have this awesome. That's actually how one of the things is like, well, this Ultros, and you'll be doing good while also becoming richer. Now that's for the anyways. There's that, and then there's the fact that the high level is very it's much more detailed than it has been. Like it's 3 times as much. Like it's entirely different. Like it's in terms of attention to detail, and then but also the Voyage of the Odyssey gets a lot more. It's a lot closer to the level of detail of like the Great Labors. In terms of
Right.
there's the islands that didn't get a lot of love are given a lot more love, and even the islands that got some love get even more love. So even the island of the exiles, it's like, oh, the murder mystery plot, and it's like I can't just slap some art on this and I gotta say that like it's like or add some, it's you gotta do a murder mystery plot. But yes, it's anyways, man, we'll be doing more. I also want to say that like this is living like um we're going to continue to work on it until we can't. And then even after that, like um the plan is to do more books and to keep updating, and depending upon how the book does, who knows what different things we might do, whether it's stories. Drew has actually said that he would like to write a book, but I'd have to pay him. So, but that upfront, he doesn't do things for free. But or there's or comic books, or as you said, the different VGTs and all sorts of things, and it all depends on this is I love doing this kind of stuff, so it's yeah, expect that Odyssey and expect more engagement just with the community than like, me and Jesse kind of obviously went offline for a long time because that whole archetype video games, which are really hard by the way, they're
Yeah.
not don't go into video games. It's not fun. Some people it's fun. No, but they're hard. And the tabletop is just so. I think it's going to exist forever because it's like shared storytelling is. It's why we're all doing it. Anyways, yeah, I'm getting the hand signals that I'm being a bad father. So I will talk to you guys. Hopefully, we'll have more of these in the future. And thank you very much.
Excellent.
For the best. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Quite rare. It was a pleasure to meet you, James, and we hope this conversation was valuable. And wasn't a rush because he's with his kid. Chat, we hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you guys are not a part of our Discord community yet, please come chat with us. We're always in there. There's a link in the description for both the Kickstarter and for the Discord. You can find them both there. We have a lot of people always talking about this module. For better or for worse, we like it a little bit too much. You'll find a lot of useful resources in there. You'll find a lot of people willing to answer your questions and help you with your games. So please, take a look, come participate. I think you guys will like it. Terry, thank you for coming. Thanks for helping with us.
Thank you. See you later.
And I think this will be it. See you later.